Students, just a quick video here to lay out some file management techniques for using STATA and give you a little bit of a boost going into our first question and answer log using STATA. So I'm in session 2 and you go down to the question and answers here. All right. So we're talking about file management and do files. Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to do is one of the key things to keeping accurate analysis files, your data, your commands, all your logs, all these things is to have a really nice setup. Directory structure. So if you're working on a couple of projects and you step away from them for maybe a year, and you want to go back and rerun an analysis on new data, the more organized you are, the better it is, and the easier it is to do this. And this happens to me quite a bit, and I'm really in trouble if I don't really take care of my files. So I would encourage you to do something like this to start off the class. I'm using a Mac. It's a little bit different than what you may be using, but I'm going to start a new folder on my desktop. And I'm going to call it, you call it whatever you want, but I'm going to call it Econ 820. Okay? All my files for this class will be going in here. Open up Econ 820. And the first thing that we're going to be doing is working on this states data set, just playing around with it. So in Econ 820, I'm going to create another new folder, and I'll call it states. Okay. So now I have a subfolder called states. Actually, if you want to do this too, the next thing we're going to do is cigarettes. Maybe you call another folder cigs. Maybe another folder later will be talking about working with chickens, the chicken data set. Okay, so you create your subfolders here for your different projects because they're all going to have different code, different output files, etc. So we're working on the states file here. So you go in, I have two files for you to download. I have a STATA data file, states.dta, and a do file that I started for you. So I'm going to download both of these just by clicking on the links. You see it downloaded to Chrome. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find my download folder. So in Mac it does that pretty easily, and I'm gonna take these two files, states.dta and my session 2 states v2.do. That's the do file, and I'm gonna move them to my states folder. Okay, so that gives me two things: my data and my do file. All right. Okay. So now I have STATA open up. I have my do file. I'm going to open up this do file, and you see it's right here. It's one I've been working with a few years, and I updated it for y'all. Now, the do file is basically a log of commands. It's a list of commands that you want STATA to run all at one time. And the way you come up with these is you trial and error on the data file. But the problem with trial and error as you go along is if you do a little bit and then you stop and maybe save it, go get a sandwich or whatever, come back to it, do a little bit more, you quickly lose track of what you've done to the data. And once you start losing track and decisions you made, transformations, whatever it is you do to the data cleaning, dropping observations, whatever these things, you start to forget about these things. Well, what a do file can do is it helps you, you have a starting point with your data, you clean the data, you run analyses, and then you have output that you put in your publications. You want to be able to do that from beginning to end every time and get the same answers. And the do file lets you to do that. So in this do file, I'll what I generally do is I'll try to put new new commands that you may not have installed in STATA yet. So I use a lot of user created commands. In this one, we're gonna use one called outreg2, which takes STATA regression output and puts them in presentable Excel files. So once you open this up, if you're on the internet, what you can do is highlight this line 8, and you click on do, or you can hit, for me it's Control Command D, but you can just execute, and it will execute that one line. Okay, and over here, SSC install, it checked out outreg2 and installed it. Okay, mine was already installed, so you'll get a different message. Okay, so once you do that, you'll have you'll have the new file. I have some code here. If you already had STATA open, you can run this, it clears out the data you might have had. Set more off, when you're running a long do file and it gets halfway through a regression output, it wants you to press the space bar to see more output. You turn more off if you want to run a full do file, and so you don't have to sit there with it. It's not necessary. It's just one of those things I'll want you to play around with more. Okay, so now what you have to do is you have to figure out this next command, because this is different for everybody's own directory. And what I want you to do is I want you to set your working directory to your states. And the easiest way to do that, maybe you don't know the command to change it here. So you would go to File, and you want to let STATA tell you the right command. And you do that by doing the drop-down menu. So I go to File, Change Working Directory, and my working directory for this one is econ820, and I'm doing this states data. Right, so that's the working directory I'm in. It has my data file, it has my do file. That's the one I want to use. Okay, so that gave me the right command for my computer. So I'm going to copy that, Control C, and I'm going to put it right here. Okay. Now I have I'm personalizing this do file to work on my computer. All right, so I made this change. I'm going to save it. Control Save. You saw it save here. Okay. Now, if y'all want to, y'all can start logging stuff. I'm not going to do that yet. But now that I have the working directory located where my states file is, I can use states.dta, and I click do. And if you look over here, I have all the data right now. Okay. So I would encourage you to do some commands to get to know the data descriptions. This will tell you what the data is. You can summarize the data, summarize star. It tells you how many observations, what the mean, min, max are, etc. Okay, and once you have this all set up, what I'll ask you to do is okay, you only have to do this once. So that little star there, it comments. By the way, I should have told you this. Everything in green here with a star in front of it is a comment. So as you create your do files, one thing you want to do is you want to create comments. And as you look through this, you'll see I have comments here that's breaking down the do file into different places, different sections, levels of analysis. Use comments to, a year from now, again, if you look back on this, you're like, what did this command do? You can comment and tell it what to do. That being said, we did outreg2. Don't need to do it again, so I commented out. Okay, again, save my do file. Now, I'm ready to run this whole thing. This is a working do file. It should be able to run everything from top to bottom. So I'm going to go up here to, I always use the shortcut, file, do, oh no, sorry. I'm going to, okay. I didn't have anything highlighted, so it's running the full do file. I had it do some scatter plots of the data. You see it running regressions. It opened a log and it got through all the way through the do file. You see regression output, all this stuff. Okay, it ran all these do commands all at one time, and it didn't ask for anything else. You look back at the states file and that you see a lot more files in here. It's my output files. All these graphs we made, it saved it to there. This output file, states.out, is the Excel file I was telling you about. The do file ran several regressions, and it's coming up in just a second. And all the regression output is in here in a nice table form. Okay? So that's a brief explanation of starting these do files. Please let me know if you have any questions. But what I want you to do throughout this class is kind of make a good habit of managing your files well, creating do files that are well commented so that when you look back on them, you know what's going on, and being able to keep your logs and output files and do files and data files all in the same place so that you can go back and rerun things over and over again. All right, talk to you soon.